she says, she jumps in the car. She says, "Go, go, go." I was like, "What the fuck did you do?"
And I was like, yes, like I'm alive. I'm never doing that again. I'm alive.
Okay, there's having a strong accent, and then there's having like where you can't even speak English hardly, where it's like, yeah, I'll tell you, well, I ain't gonna tell you my shit, like.
All right, guys, welcome back to Awkward Purgatory. This week, we're taking a break from talking about film and other media. We're actually going to let you guys get to know us a little better. We thought it would be a fun idea if we tell some bad dating stories, stories of bad dates and other mishaps with interacting with the opposite sex.
I can't wait for the comments on that.
Yeah, and look, let's not get it wrong. Dating is still pretty bad for me now, but I'm not making the same mistakes that I made when I was like 18, 19, 20 years old. That was a different stratosphere of mistake. That was like potentially life-ending mistakes. And I'm not making that type of error in judgment anymore.
But that's what that's what hormones will do to you.
Yeah, that just shows you the power of desperation mixed with testosterone. It's an undefeated combo that has actually claimed the lives of a lot of different people. But the story that I'm about to tell, Alex, I've definitely told you before. I don't know if you remember it. It was before I met you, so it's from many, many years ago. But you'll probably remember it. Kevin, I've never told you this because it's never come up at all. I don't think I've told you this.
And why not? Are you afraid I'm gonna judge you or something?
I can't just tell you all my lore instantly upon meeting you. Like I got to save some of the good shit. And
I do.
this
I trauma dump people. When I first meet them, I trauma dump. Probably why I'm not doing very good in the dating scene.
this isn't really like trauma. It just shows that I had a complete lack of awareness and disregard for safety. This actually happened my freshman year in college, and I didn't go to college right out of high school, and I won't get into why, but pretty much in the interim between high school and college, I would, all my friends who were in college would call me and they'd be like, "Hey man, like I've been hanging out with all these girls and like I've been hooking up and all this stuff." So I'm hearing this from my peers and I wasn't able to do that. I mean, I was stuck at home still. So there was kind of like this built up like drive to go out and date once I got to college. So fast forward, I'm in college, and up until this point in my life, I had never really felt like I was perceived as attractive by women. Dating apps seemed like an easy way for me to post photos of myself and then see like who thought I was attractive, and like really see if I have any game. Like I was trying to prove stuff to myself at that point and my friends, I guess. Like do I actually have what it takes to go on a date with a woman, like set it up myself and, have her think I'm attractive and then maybe like, I don't know, hook up or get a girlfriend, whatever you like. It was new territory for me at that point. I downloaded Tinder, and with this account, I started to get matches. We'll just say that I got like an average number of matches, which surprised me because like when you're a young man and you're just now realizing that like hey, girls might actually be kind of into you, it's a very powerful and like weird feeling. Anyway, so I got Tinder and I matched with this chick, and I'm new to the apps, so the fact that all of her pictures were, barely even of her, they were of like half of her face or a quarter of her face at most, and there was like Snapchat filters, and there was like there was like a mirror pic where the flash was so bright you could just barely see
Yes.
her outline. And at the time, I was like, "Oh my God, a girl thinks I'm hot." So, of course, she matches with me. I don't even like really know what she looks like. So I start messaging, and I had like no game at the time. I mean, I was smaller, uglier, weaker, less facial hair, like basically a loser version of myself now. I was like, "Oh my God, this girl thinks I'm attractive." So we were messaging back and forth even though I didn't even know what she looked like, and it was over Snapchat. So we weren't even sending pictures back and forth. Like this chick never sent me a picture of herself. It was all in the chat. And so we're talking for a couple weeks or so, between classes, I'll send this girl a message, she'll respond to me. A couple red flags started to present themselves. Like for example, and this is about to go from 0 to 100 really fast. She told me about her fantasies, like her, I guess I should say sexual fantasies or dating fantasies, and they weren't normal at all. and I'm basically talking to like a faceless human being, and they're telling me, and she's telling me that she, some girls are into light stuff like choking and shit like that. She was like, I want to be murdered. She was like, I want you to take me into a ditch on the side of the road and slit my throat and leave my body there. And this chick was like 18. So any other time in my life, I would have immediately blocked this person and maybe like called the authorities or called somebody. But at the time, I couldn't get past that 18-year-old like, oh my God, a girl thinks I'm attractive and she wants to like meet up with me and stuff. So I just kind of swept it under the rug and pretended like that wasn't real. Fast forward a
She's
couple
just
days.
kidding.
I don't know what I thought, man.
We
But
all know you were into it, Will.
I was not at all. I was deeply disturbed. I'm pretty sure I showed the guy beside me. I was like, am I going to die if I meet this person? So we finally set up a time to meet, and she wanted me to come directly to where she was staying. And I guess that's another red flag. But at the time, I was just like, okay, I guess that's convenient. So we made plans, and I drove from my college campus, which isn't in a big city, but it is in a city. But I drove an hour plus, probably like an hour and 15 minutes to where this chick lived. And I just want to say to all the young men listening to this, if there are any, never drive more than 40 minutes for a chick. Never. Never. It's not worth it. If you're doing that, if you're
Said that at the
driving,
beginning of the video.
yeah, if you're driving over an hour for a chick, you're too desperate or there's something wrong, just stop. There's chicks within an hour of you, man. Unless you live in like Kansas, you can find somebody closer. I get out of class, pack up all my stuff that I need, and I drive an hour and 15 minutes to this chick's place. And this is the first time that I'm actively like driving out of my way to go on a date with a girl or meet up with a girl ever. Like I had had like girlfriends before that, but it was just unserious middle school and high school stuff. So I'm driving there, and it's like as the closer I get, the darker it gets outside. Obviously because the day night cycle and stuff, but it's kind of symbolic in a sense. And so it's getting darker and darker. I'm losing cell coverage, and it's getting more mountainous and more like rural pretty much. So and also this huge truck drove by me and flipped me off. Like the vibes were just so off on that drive, and I was like kind of scared. So you know how if you plug in directions on Apple Maps, it'll keep the directions even if you lose service?
I use Google Maps,
I-
but yes.
Let's
Okay.
say I don't use Apple, so I wouldn't know that, but I assume that's how it works.
Okay, so it pretty much like 70% through the drive, I had no service at all. The only thing that was working was the directions. And it's getting deeper and deeper into the mountainous like forest. I don't see houses, I don't see lights, and eventually I'm just driving down this like winding country road, okay? And I'm like legit scared at this point. And the last probably 15 minutes of the drive were up this pitch black mountain road. Like it is pitch black. And I'm just seeing like the shapes of trailers in the woods. And so I'm circling up this mountain, and the GPS finally tells me that I've gotten to the location. And I'm pulling into this like gravel driveway of this super just no lights on, just dingy trailer. So I was at a trailer park on the side of a mountain at night with no cell service, an hour and 15 minutes away from where I was supposed to be. As like when I get actually up to this trailer, I sort of get like a little bit of service, and I get a Snapchat notification from the chick, and she's like come in. And that's all I see. It just says come in. And it's pitch black. I can barely see the porch of this trailer, and I'm like legit scared to get out of my car, but I'm young and dumb and just curious and wanting to see what happens. So I get out of my car, shut the door, and I can just see this like shape moving in the shadows on the porch. And I'm like, is this even a person? Like, is this a grown man? I can't tell. But I walk slowly towards the pitch black trailer, and like the shape goes inside and shuts the door. And I'm like, for a split second, I'm like, dude, what am I doing? But I continue to walk up on the porch, and like when I'm about to knock on the door, it opens, and it's this chick.
'Cause that's like not normal to like go, like she's waiting outside for you, and then she's like, oh, I should go inside, and then oh, I should open the door.
It was very weird. It was very, very weird. And
I can say your story sounds like the beginning of a scary movie or something, like a horror flick.
oh, I was pretty scared. So I see the chick, and when I see her, a little wave of relief kind of washes over me because I'm like, okay, at least I'm not about to get shot in the head on the porch right now. Like at least this part is real. But I will say, she definitely did not look like I was expecting. And like all beauty is unique, and I love everybody's imperfections, but she did not. I didn't think she was attractive. Okay, so right off the bat, I was like, oh God. Um, and as soon as she opens the door, I'm hit with this like wall of cigarette smoke. Like it is offensive to my like I'm pretty sure my eyes started watering. I mean, there was just like probably four people living in there chain smoking constantly. That's what it smelled like. So I go into the trailer. She basically invites me in, and you would think somebody who's talking about
Wait, what
fantasies.
time of year is this? Was it like cold outside
Yes, it
or?
was fall. So you would think that somebody with the fantasies she had would be at least like extroverted somewhat and willing to talk and kind of lead the way, but she was so awkward, like most socially awkward human being you've ever interacted with in your life. And I'm talking about she sat down on the couch, I sat down on a recliner away from her, and she just like I couldn't even get more than half a word out of her. So I'm pretty introverted, but I was trying to make conversation, just to make myself more comfortable. And like I would ask her a question and she would just like she would like laugh quietly as a response. Like I would ask her a direct question and she would just like softly cackle into her elbow as a response. And I was like, what in God's name is going on? So I had been driving for an hour and a half. So I was like, I'm gonna go pee. Where's your bathroom? So I walk to the bathroom and like I
That's
go to
in
pee.
character.
I go to pee. I take my pants down and I'm looking down at and I'm literally thinking to myself like, I'm not gonna do this to you, man. This isn't gonna happen. Like we're gonna make it out of here alive. I promise we're gonna make it out of here alive. We come back out, or I come back out of the bathroom, and we just continue to make super awkward small talk. Like it's so bad. It is so bad. And she gets she gets a phone call, right? So we're in the middle of this really weird conversation, and she gets a phone call, and she's like, "Oh, gotta grab that," and she gets up and goes and answers the phone. She's like, "It's my dad," and she talks to him for a second, and like I can hear the answering machine, and like when she picked it up, it was like you have a collect call from blah 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 county prison or county jail. So she talks to her dad or whatever for a second and puts the phone down, and I'm like, "Was that seriously your dad?" And she's like, "Yeah, he's in jail." And I asked the question that someone would ask immediately next. I was like, "What is he in jail for?" Yeah, exactly. And I promise you she said attempted murder. I promise you she said attempted murder. And at this point, I'm like, bro, I don't know what's happening. Like, I'll give this chick 15 more minutes of my time, and then I'm getting the actual heck out of here right now. I should have left immediately. I should have pulled into the driveway and just left. I should have never done it. But anyway, so this chick takes me into what I only can assume was her bedroom. She's like, sit down on the bed. I want to have a conversation. And I was like, okay. And she was like, starting to open up a little more, but it wasn't making me more comfortable. It was actually making me more uncomfortable. So I'm sitting on the bed, and I'm pretty sure I even still have my damn shoes on because I was just ready to sprint out of there. I was like, somebody could just walk back in here and shoot me at any moment. But we're sitting on the bed, and the 35 minutes of conversation up until this point have been extremely awkward. But all of a sudden, she's like, you came here for a reason, right? And I was like, and she's like, yeah, you came here for a reason. Like, you know what we're about to do, right? And I was like, I gotta go. I have to leave. I'm sorry. I've been here for too long. And so I get up, grab all my stuff, and basically like speed walk out of the door. And I shut the door and I just like go and get in my Jeep. And she she's standing on the porch watching me leave and like sobbing into her hands, like actually sobbing. And I was like, I got this. This is it. I'm done. This is too much. I can't handle this. So at this point, I had no cell service. I couldn't even plug my address, my college campus back into my maps. I couldn't. So I just pull out of there, and I'm speeding down that mountain, just like I was playing. I was playing that song where it's like, I'm coming home, tell the world I'm coming home. And I was just like blasting that and like screaming along to the lyrics. And I suck so bad at directions, but I was like, I don't know, my 400 IQ unlocked because it was a fight or flight situation. And I literally made it all the way back to campus without even plugging in directions. And I was like, yes, like I'm alive. I'm never doing that again. I'm alive. But yeah, that was the worst, dumbest thing. I could have died. I could have been murdered 4 times over and buried. So that's my story. That was my bad college freshman year date when I was like, oh, like, girls find me hot. I need to go drive an hour and a half to go see them.
To be young and dumb.
There's probably a huge population of men who have very similar memories to what you just described of being, you know, mostly probably people who were not super like socially popular in high school. People who kind of entered college and realized like, well, it's time to start dating, but I have no actual real dating experience and I don't know how to interact with women, so I'll just use online dating apps. And then because you're socially awkward and maybe not, like a 10 out of 10 physically as well, you get somewhat seedy options on your dating profile, but you're 18 years old and stupid, so you choose one, and it ends up just being an absolutely revolting and awkward experience. I would say there's probably like 50 million people in this country who have, who have had something like that happen.
What it is when you're young and like you're like 16, 17 years old living in your parents' house, you kind of have this whole, you're like in this bubble. And you have this idea of how things are supposed to be. Like maybe it's like some kind of romance movie. But when you become an adult and you're on your own, nobody tells you how to navigate this ocean called dating. You basically just, you're thrown in and you got to sink or swim. And you're basically winging it the entire time. You go in thinking this is how it's done. You're supposed to meet people and you go see them and visit them. And luckily for you, you were smart to notice the red flags. But I've heard some horror stories from people who have not noticed the red flags and have gotten themselves in situations. Always listen to your instincts.
Or just not had
the
confidence to like exit the situation in time.
Yeah, and that's another thing too. Like you're so inexperienced with dating that you think this is how it's supposed to be, so you stick with it. You see it through, and then it ends up being like one of your worst experiences. But the good thing about it though is you learn from that. Like now dating's a lot easier because you've been through the bad thing. You've seen some weird shit. You've been there. You've done that. And now you're filtering out what you like and what you don't like. When you first start dating at a young age, you don't know what it is you want out of a woman. You just, basically your checklist is has a vagina, check. Or a penis, I don't judge, whatever you're into. And then after a while you meet some people and you have these strange experiences, you start to filter out what it is you like and what you're willing to do for a relationship or for some people. As you said, and I think I stated it too at the beginning, don't drive a long way for a woman, but when you first start dating, you think that's what you're supposed to do. 2, 3, 4 hours across state lines, across the country. You think that's romantic. That's what the romance stories are all about. But in practicality, driving 4 hours to go on a date with somebody when it's most likely not going to work out, you start to figure that out as you go and you get the experience.
Well,
It's
I think
scary.
that's especially the driving advice, I think is really good advice. And I think it's not just because of the practicality aspect of it. It's also, particularly if you are inexperienced, there's going to be some level of anxiety around the experience, right? You're anxious because you're doing this dating thing that you're not used to. You're also anxious because you're going somewhere that you're unfamiliar with. And the longer that drive is, the further from home you are, the further from familiar you are, and the more time you have during that drive to psych yourself out about the whole thing. And by the time it's an hour and a half later and it's dark and you're in the middle of nowhere, it might not even matter if the person who answers the door is like a 9 out of 10. You're going to be so freaked out that you're just going to like sit down at the kitchen table and be like, I don't know what to do.
Some of the long drives to those Tinder dates be having you thinking on the way there, like, wait, am I even into women? Like, maybe I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah, it's the absolute worst, I guess, set of circumstances for an introverted an introverted person to have a romantic experience. If you're not comfortable, if you're an introverted or anxious personality type, you're not going to have good experiences when you're anxious like that.
All right, guys, I think it's probably time for story number 2. Alex, how you feeling?
Yeah, we'll go into story number 2. I haven't told a whole lot of people this story, but it's a great story, so I am excited to share it. Will is definitely familiar with this because he was basically there for it. So I'll give some context. I was definitely very, very sheltered growing up. Even for a sheltered kid, I was like physically I was tiny. Middle school and onward, I was always much smaller than everyone else. I looked much younger than everyone else. I was never attractive to my peers, basically. Um, and I was just repressed. I didn't seek those things out. It wasn't until like my last year of high school that I started to notice, like, maybe I should start thinking about, this whole dating thing. And I only ever tried to date one person in high school, and I went on two dates with them, and we did not even. They were not dates. They were just like doing something at in the same place and being very awkward around each other and just talking to our friends more than each other. It was it was so rough. And so okay, enter it's college time. I will say as well though, like I did homeschool slash private school through middle school. I did public school for high school. And I did change a lot in high school and I learned a lot in high school. But I went from like 10% prepared to like 50% prepared. So I was still a long ways from really being like ready for the real world at when I was coming out of high school. But I knew, okay, it's college. I'm going away from home. I I of course, I mean, you watch movies and you talk to friends and blah blah blah. College is this majestic thing in your future that that's when everything happens, right? It's and I was also going through at this time changes in my belief system and in my religion and et cetera, et cetera. So I was basically I was primed and ready to really try the whole dating thing. I was naive and stupid and I thought it was going to come easily. I thought it was just going to happen when you start college, that you were just going to be like presented with flurries of opportunities in the real world. Unfortunately, life is not a movie, and that's not how it worked out for me. So I started, probably halfway through first semester of college, which now that seems like such a laughably small amount of time. But your first semester of college, I mean, every day is an adventure. Every day is a lifetime. And so when you're like 2 months in and you still haven't gone on any dates or talked to girls at all, really, it's like, okay, we gotta get out the big guns. We gotta do something different because this is not working. And luckily, I had someone that pushed me to try online dating. That would be Will. Did I have any good experiences with online dating? Not really. Basically no. But I don't regret it. I know I could have been a lot smarter about certain decisions I made. Overall, I think that I learned a lot. But getting to the story. All right, we'll actually start the story now. That's just all context. This was Will, what do you think? This was like second person that I talked to on Tinder or that I
Yeah,
went on a date on?
yeah, I'd say it was second or third.
Yeah, something like that. And to be clear, my Tinder experiences were very unsuccessful. Okay. So when if I say like, well, I saw like 6 people through Tinder. I do not have a body count of 6, not even close. But anyways, so super, super, super inexperienced. I do not remember this person's name.
I do.
I don't think I even, no way.
Wasn't it Tori or Victoria, some shit like that? I think it was. I really think it was, man. I've got a killer memory.
I mean, maybe it could have been Tori. I don't really. It doesn't ring a bell. Well, anyways, we can call her Tori. I don't remember what she looked like. I think she had brown hair. That's about all I can remember. Um, she was roughly my age, which is good because I did have a classic Tinder catfish experience where someone's profile pictures were probably 5+ years outdated, which for an 18-year-old is a big difference. Where to start? Okay, I went on a date with Tori. It was fine. We went to a park and just walked around a little bit, sat at a picnic table, and talked. We talked about, you know, who we were, what we liked, what we were doing, what we thought about for our future. I mean, that's kind of exactly how you want a first date to go. Like, you're just talking to the person and getting to know them and seeing, like, if they do things that you want to do, if they like things you like, if they want their future to look similar to how you want your future to look. That's kind of pretty solid first date. And we set up a second date. And so I was like, hey, this is actually pretty promising. Second date rolls around. So I show up to Tori's house. Her place was 40 minutes, maybe 30 to 40 minutes from campus. So not absurdly far away. But okay, I drive over there. And when I get there, she is outside of her house in her car, and she has a friend in her car in the passenger seat. And I get out of my car and she's like, "Hey, hop in. We're going to be driving around." And I'm like, "Okay, we're going to be driving around. That's interesting." And her friend stays in the passenger seat. So I awkwardly get into the back seat as the third wheel in this situation. It's sure enough, just like she said, they just start driving around. And I'm kind of annoyed because I'm like, I was genuinely excited to spend an evening with this person, get to know them better, maybe even have my first kiss. And here I am sitting in the back seat of her car while she talks with her friend about random stupid drama. And they weren't even hardly acknowledging my existence, which I was like, I can understand kind of if you want to early on, sort of testing the waters with someone, like have them around your friends, see what your friends think of them and what they think of your friends. That's fine. But for one, you got to give them some warning. And for two, you have to actually include them in your conversations. Because if you're just talking about stuff that only you and your friends know about and telling inside jokes and talking about drama between people this random person has no way to enter into the conversation. So I'm just kid in the back seat, losing my mind. And I don't know how long we drove around, maybe 45 minutes, an hour, before they get a call. And they had the car call thing where it plays through the speakers. And it's this guy, and he's like, "Guys, the situation with," I don't know what this girl's name, but we'll just go with Brittany. I don't know. "The situation with Brittany has gone nuclear. Her boyfriend kicked her out of the house, and he's not letting her have her stuff. Her stuff is still at his house, and he won't let her get it. We need to take care of this situation." And they're getting super mad, and they just kind of are ranting to each other about this guy. "I never liked this guy anyway," for who knows how long. And they set new directions, or they didn't set directions. They start driving. They're like, "We're going to go to this guy's house that called us." Future Alex speaking. This was the point where I should have dipped out. This was the point where I should have said, "Guys, drop me off back at my car, or if not that, just somewhere, and I'll Uber back, because I don't want to be a part of this. I don't want to be a part of this random drama." But I was even more socially awkward than I am now, and I just rode along. So turns out this place was very far away. It was probably close to an hour drive, on top of all the just random driving around pointlessly, to get to this place. And kind of like you guys have both talked about, it was very rural, and we were getting into more and more sort of just mountainous, no data, just totally middle of absolute nowhere.
See, all guys go through that.
But the sad thing is there's no light at the end of the tunnel in this one. In this scenario, it's just I'm being dragged to some dude's house. And so we get there. It's a trailer. I don't think it was in a trailer park. It was more just kind of set by itself. But there's trash all through the yard. You know the type of place where it's just I don't know how people live like this, but they just don't. I guess they just don't ever take their trash to the dump. They just leave it in their yard. There's toys and just tires and whatever. Just no walking space. And we go in, and there's actually 2 or 3 guys. I can't really remember, so I'll just say 2. There's 2 very smelly, very unsightly people living in this trailer. and their grandma. Grandma was nice, but also probably not mentally present. Um, and there's just like not trash, but like clothes and just basically a hoarder household all through this place. And they just walk in like this is totally normal, and they're sitting around. And I was so shocked by this because I really didn't get the impression from Tori, from this person who I had my first date with, that this was the crowd of people that she would hang out with. Her accent, I don't remember being like, okay, there's having a strong accent, and then there's having like where you can't even speak English hardly, where it's like, yeah, I'll tell you, well, I ain't gonna tell you my shit. Like, this was that type of person, okay? It's like, it's genuinely almost a new language that they're speaking. And I'm like, man, this is not normal. And so I'm just sitting in the corner. These two guys in this house, at some point, they're talking about going to like get this guy who has kicked this girl out that has started this whole drama. They start wrestling each other, like like really obnoxiously and sweatily wrestling each other in this bedroom and like throwing each other into piles of trash. And I'm just trying not to get hit by flying limbs or body parts, and I'm just like surviving at this point. I don't know
So at
how.
this point, you haven't even really had a conversation with Tori. Like you're not even talking to the girl that took you on a date.
No, she's talking with her friends.
So you're just like the
I
random
mean,
NPC in the corner.
yeah, I mean, she introduced me. It was like, oh hey, this is Alex, and it's like, I that was about it. Yeah, just like this is who this is, and then they're like, cool, and then just start like wrestling. Dude, I don't know what was going on. So I don't know how long we were in that trailer, but it was very uncomfortably long. I just wanted to get out of there. Of course, the stench was horrendous, mix of cigarette smoke and just like unwashed humans, um, and possibly animals. I think there was animals. We get out of there. Okay, it's finally time to go get this guy. And the dudes hop into a pickup truck. We hop back into the original car. And so we're taking two vehicles to this place. Fast forward another, I don't know how long. Close to an hour. I mean, it's been a long time. Like it was probably like late afternoon when this started, and it's like well dark at this point. So we drive to the middle of nowhere, a different middle of nowhere, and park, and you can see there's a trailer up on the hill through woods. There's like a driveway to get up to it, but they don't go up the whole driveway. They park at the bottom of the driveway where you can just see the house through the woods and start getting out. I did not get out. I'm glad I did not get out. But I was like, I'm staying here. So the two guys get out of the pickup truck and they pull out like crowbars and hammers and tools from the bed of the truck, and all of them, I guess the two girls and the two guys, just start walking through the woods towards the house like they're just gonna like raid it, like it's some sort of like primeval attack on this place. And I'm just sitting in the car like, if I do hear gunshots, what should I do? Should I run or should I just hide in the car? I don't know. I don't know what the best thing to do is. I'll just sit here for now. Luckily, there were no gunshots. The guy, they walk up to the house, and then, of course, they don't actually attack anyone because people are all bark and no bite. But they get up there, and I think they just yell, and then this dude comes out, and he's holding a trash bag, and I guess all of this girl's stuff is in the trash bag. So he basically throws the trash bag down to him. They kind of just exchange a few tense words and come back. And I'm like, oh, okay, no one's dying. That's basically the main part of the story. There was more driving. We drove to take that stuff to the girl who I was calling Brittany. And then we drove her somewhere else as well. I don't even know where we took her to. I was losing my grip on reality. I mean, I was so tired. I was so... I was in absolute disbelief at what was happening. I couldn't even fathom it. I do remember at the end of all of that, I get out when we're finally back to my car, and I don't remember what I said to Tori, but it wasn't much. It was kind of just like, see ya. And I get in my car and I make the drive back to campus and I show up and Will's up of course because he doesn't sleep. And he's like, I need like the rundown of what happened, and I basically told him this story. And you were like, dude, that's so messed up. Like, you have to tell her how messed up that was. You have to relay to her that this was not normal. And he was definitely right, but I was just so like lost in the sauce at this point that hadn't even crossed my mind to like talk to her again. I was just like glad to be alive. But so I did. I was like, I think the text messages went something like, "Hey, do you think that that was normal?" And she was like, "What? I mean, they're my friends. If you don't like my friends, then we're probably not going to work out." And then it was like, "Yeah, we're not going to work out." That was about it.
Oh, I
Oh.
wonder what she's doing right now. Like, I wonder, she's probably like pregnant somewhere off in the woods, living in a tent, like boiling water over a
I'm pretty sure
campfire.
she I'm pretty sure she worked at McDonald's and that's
Mm,
probably what she's doing now.
Why
yeah,
does that not surprise me?
she might even be a manager. Maybe she's moving up in the world.
No, no, she's just a shift leader. That's it. Don't give her that much credit.
If you
Ugh.
don't like my friends, then we ain't gonna work out, sweetie. Dude, I just remember I was like so excited for you going on your first dates. I didn't want you to make the same mistakes that I had made the previous year. So I was trying to like kind of guide you through it. And I think I did not too bad of a job, but that evening, so I walked into your room and you just looked like so depressed sitting on your bed. Like you looked like you were rethinking everything. And it was like 2 a.m. or 2:30 a.m. or something. And
It was a long
I
ordeal.
was like, "Hey man, how did it go?" Like, how, and you told me that story. It genuinely pissed me off, and it's kind of pissing me off right now to think about. Like
Dude,
they,
it's just the snapshot of being in the like genuinely no clue what state I'm even in at night in the middle of the woods watching a bunch of people pull tools out of their truck to go attack a house. That was the moment that was just like burned into my mind of like you made bad decisions to get to this point. Oh,
well, the good thing about your story and my story is that yeah, they were pretty bad, and they definitely wasted like a whole day and did a lot of mental damage, but they didn't do any physical damage, and we never really did anything like that again for the most part. So maybe it was good.
I think one thing that I learned from that experience was like, okay, the first date was pleasant and we had decent conversations. And like I'm pretty sure she looked how she looked in her pictures. So like a
That's
lot of
rare.
those yeah, a lot of those like really blatant issues that you have with online dating where it's like from the moment you see them, you know, like, oh, or the moment you talk to them at least, you're like, yeah, this is not going to work out. Like people who can't even speak with you, they're so socially awkward that they can't even hold up a conversation if you're like asking them questions. She didn't have those problems, but I do think that I could probably tell in that first date that like we came from very different backgrounds and we had like we didn't really have a lot socially or I guess just in terms of like our experience it was so different. And now some people thrive on meeting people, interacting with people, dating people that are extremely different from them, but there's also something to be said for having like a shared background to the point where you can at least like to some level predict what they're like how they would react to a certain situation because we were so different from each other that she thought that that night would be enjoyable and normal for me. And I probably, nowadays I could probably identify if I have a conversation with someone like we don't understand each other. We're so different from each other that like this isn't wise. I don't know if any of that made
That
sense.
made perfect sense. With her, with that situation specifically, it's like I don't know if she like wasn't a human or something, but even like all of the weird situational stuff aside, why would she think you would enjoy a night where you're supposed to be on a date and she doesn't even talk to you? Like, you know what I mean? It's just ridiculous.
Well, I think she just kind of expected me to be like a lot more comfortable in that type of situation and to just sort of join in on the like I don't even know what to call it. Just like drama talk and like being loud and obnoxious.
There's one more co-host, so there's one more story that I'm expecting. Kevin, what are you going to hit us with?
Well, I have you guys at a slight disadvantage because I have a couple more years on you, so I have a couple more stories that I could choose from. But I'm gonna tell you the one about the one time where I think I committed a felony on our first date. All right, so I met this girl online. We had met in a chat room back when chat rooms were a thing, and she wanted to hang out, and I'm like, yeah, you're pretty cool. I like it. And we didn't exchange pictures. I just, I didn't really care. I mean, she had sent me a picture of her, so I knew kind of what she looked like. She's like, you want to hang out? I was like, yeah, we'll hang out. And she's like, can you come pick me up? I don't have a car. I'm like, all right. So I had just bought what was new to me, an old Nissan. It was an older Nissan truck. The little one with the tiny cab and the long ass bed. I was so proud of this thing. It was a stick shift and everything. So I picked her up in this truck and I go to her house and she comes out and she looks like the picture, no biggie. But she's a little flaky, acting a little weird. I'm like, hey, how you doing? And we got to talking a little bit and like, so do you want to go get dinner or something? She's like, yeah, but I left my purse at my friend's house. Do you think we could stop by there so I could pick it up? I was like, well, I'm buying dinner, but I could still do that for you anyways. She's like, yeah, I'd like to go by there. So she gives me directions to her friend's house, and we drive over to this friend's house, and she's like, I park in the parking lot. She's like, wait here, I'll be right back. And I'm sitting there. I don't know where I'm at. I'm in a city I've never been in before. I just met this woman today, so I'm going through my mind what possibly she could, be doing, because she's taking forever. I mean, she'd been gone like 8, 9, 10 minutes. All of a sudden, I start hearing screaming, and I'm like, oh crap, this has got to be her. We're in an apartment complex, and she comes from behind the building, which is the front of the front of the building, but where I'm parked, it's from behind the building, just running. She's missing a shoe. She had flip flops on. She's missing a shoe. She's carrying a fucking dog, a little tiny like Lhasa Apso or something. She says she jumps in the car. She says, "Go, go, go!" I was like, "What the fuck did you do?" And she's like, "You gotta go." And I turn around and I see coming around the corner from behind the house this big guy, bigger than me, butt ass fucking naked, dick swinging and everything, chasing her because she had stole his dog. I'm like, fuck, I'm gonna get murdered. So I pop it in first gear and I start to pull out, and the guy catches up to me, still butt ass naked, punches out the back window of my brand new fucking truck. It wasn't brand new, it was brand new. It wasn't really brand new. I've never had a brand new truck. And I'm like, fuck, he's gonna kill us. And I guess he just had bad balance, or he fell over, and I'm driving. I go 3 blocks down the road, and I pull over. I'm like, what the fuck was that? She's like, that was my ex. We broke up like last week, and he stole my dog. I'm like, I would have been a part of this willingly had you told me, but now you've scared the shit out of me. This date's fucking over. So I take her back to her house, and I'm like, listen, you're nice and you're pretty, but I can't deal with this kind of stuff. I thought I was going to die tonight. She's like, yeah, I totally understand. Thanks for the ride. Gets out, never hear from her again. The worst part about this is the next day I'm going out to my truck to assess the window. I'm all mad because the window's broken. But along the side of the truck where the guy was, you could see where he had streaked across my truck with his dick. Just a dick line right across the side of the truck. I'm like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. And that was probably one of the worst experiences I've had.
Was it coated in something?
I have no idea if that shit was just dirty. And if my car was dirty, he just, when you wash me in the side of the car, but I mean a streak right
it's
across
like when
the side of
someone
the truck.
draws a dick on your car, except they did it with their dick.
Yeah, it would. Yeah, and I'm just like, this is like a weird experience, and that's not even the worst experience I've ever had on a date.
I knew that your story was going to be just completely unhinged. I just knew that was... Wait, so is the one that... Because you're going to have to tell the other one now. What's the worst one, man?
Well, but let's not move on just yet. I mean, I want to sit on this for just a second.
You don't want to sit on it, man. That's a weird phrasing for this story.
All right. Do you think that this woman was just, like, purely basically trying to use you for a ride? Or do you think that she actually... part of her thought that that the date would just continue after that?
I think she thought that. I mean, to her, this was probably normal behavior because she seemed like she didn't know what she did was wrong. Um, and the thing is, I'd have been down for it had I known what the plan was. She's like, "We're gonna go to my ex boyfriend's house. I'm gonna grab my dog. We're gonna get out." I'm like, "Yeah, sure, I could do that. I've got no problems." But the fact that I was surprised by it because I was in a city I've never been in before. I parked in an apartment complex I've never been in before. It's dark outside, and she goes and she goes around the building and she disappeared. I thought maybe she was buying drugs. I was like, I'm fine with that. She's buying some weed or something for later. I'm good with that. But she came running around the building holding this dog. I'm like, dude, this is not what I expected. This is gonna be fucking weird. Hops in the car like she stole something, which I guess she basically did. And then chased by this big guy, butt ass. Why was he naked? Why is this guy not got pants on? And then he busts out my window of this car that I was so proud of because it's the first vehicle I've ever worked for and saved money and bought myself. Apparently, I didn't wash it because he left a dick streak on it, but it was just a weird experience. And this is like normal dating experiences for me, apparently, because that's not even the weirdest thing that's ever happened to me.
And you realize you have to follow into the weirdest
Oh
things
yeah,
that
yeah,
ever
I'm
happened
going
to you.
to. I want to give you guys
Really
a
briefly,
little bit.
yeah, I'll let you go on after this comment, but I also just want to say, like, it's a very interesting thing, and nothing anywhere even close to as dramatic as that has ever happened to me. But the trope of, like, the first time you meet a girl and then she's like talking about her exes, and I'm sure guys do this too. I'll just speak generally. Talking about your exes, and especially like interacting with your exes or going to their place or something like that on a first date with someone is insane.
I will admit I've had some low points in my dating life. There was one girl I met again online. We're gonna notice a fucking pattern here. Talked to her for a while, exchanged pictures, phone conversations, everything like that. Basically got a text from her one day, basically like a booty call. She's like, "You want to come over? I'm kind of bored and want to do some shit." I'm thinking I'm gonna go over there. I'm gonna get lucky. So I take a shower, I get all prepped up, I start looking nice, and I'm like, "Yeah, dude, it's gonna happen." All right, finally, go to her house. Everything seems normal. Walk into her house, and almost like what you said with the cigarettes, you get this smell in the air. You can smell it. And it smells like animals. I'm like, okay, maybe she's got dogs and they were out in the mud or something. So she pulls me in her room and she gets, I'm sitting on the bed and she's telling me about posters she's got on her wall and like books she's reading. And then I see all of a sudden this little thing scurry across the floor. I'm like, oh, this bitch has got rats. And I looked at her and says, "Did you see that?" She's like, "What are you talking about?" I was like, "I thought I saw something over there." Oh, and she's like, and I don't know what the name was, but she's like, "Oh, that's just Fluffy." And I'm like, "Fluffy? What is Fluffy? A cat?" She's like, "No." She goes over to where her dresser is, reaches out from under the dresser, and pulls out a fucking ferret. And shows me this ferret. I'm like, "Oh,
Nice.
that's not creepy at all." She's like, "Yeah, he got out of the cage with the others." I'm like, "The others? How many do you have?" And she's like, "I got 7. I got 7 ferrets and 2 raccoons." I'm like, "You got any dogs? Any cats?" She's like, "No, no, no. I like ferrets and raccoons." And so she goes to show me the cage, and comes to turn out that none of them are in the cage, so they're all running free. I'm like, "Well, hell, this is fucked up."
Dude, you know there's diseases as well.
Well, yeah. So she's like, "All right, well, help me find my animals." I'm like, "I'll help you find them, but I'm not touching them. I don't know anything about ferrets. I'm not getting any kind of disease or anything. If I see something move, like there it is, right there." She found 6 of them in her room, one of which was under the covers of the bed that I was sitting on. Luckily, I didn't sit on this damn thing. I'm luckily, and albeit to say, I did not get any that day. I did not want any that day. I chalked that up to just a bad experience.
Wait, that's the craziest one? I think the dude
No, that's not the
chasing,
craziest one.
I think the dude chasing your car was way crazier than that.
I've had some close calls. All right, I'll tell you the craziest one. This one's actually dangerous. This one's one I would say be careful when you go dating. Met a girl online, of course. bad fucking start right there. Go back to her place after hanging out, having dinner, going to a movie, normal stuff. And we're walking through to her apartment through this dark alley, and there are these two guys there. I guess like her neighbors or something. They bow up on me like, "What you doing here, man? You don't belong here." I was like, "I'm with her," and they look at her and say, "Is he with you?" And she goes, "Nope," and walks into her apartment. And I'm like, "Oh, fuck." These guys beat the shit out of me, stole my money, stole my phone, and luckily they weren't armed, so they didn't fucking kill me, but they beat me up pretty good. So I've got a lot of bad experiences with dating.
So she's wait. Are you trying to say that she set you up? Is
She
that what
set
you
me
think
up.
happened?
Yeah, she set me
Yeah.
up. She set me up, or she was afraid of the guys and didn't want to fuck with them.
And who do you
I
think
don't
they
know, but
were? Do you think they were waiting for you, like they knew you were going to be
I have
there?
no idea. I have no idea. I assumed they were neighbors. The way they were talking to her, they weren't like related to her. They didn't know her very well. Like she acted like she knew of them, but I don't think she. I don't know if she knew they were there or if I was set up and she set me up and walked away. But yeah, they beat me up. They didn't, break any ribs or anything. Surprisingly, the way they beat me, they bloodied my nose. That's about it.
So was it one of those beatings where you just like kind of accept your fate and just kind of take it because you know it's going to be over? Or did you actually try to fight back?
Well, I mean, I fought back enough to not get seriously injured. Like I protected my face, and anytime they got in close, I'd keep them off me because I didn't see any weapons. I didn't know if they had weapons. So I was just trying. I was like, you know what? Don't fight back too much. Because maybe they just want to steal your shit. They don't want to kill you. But I knew if maybe I punched one in the face, they'd probably kill me. Truth be told, they really didn't hit that hard. They just hit a lot,
Were they
And when you
big?
get hit in this, they weren't big at all. They just outnumbered me, and they threw me off guard, and they I guess they thought they were tough, but they really, like I said, they didn't hit that hard. Like they didn't really cause any major injuries. I more like got hurt because I didn't fight back because, like I said, I didn't know if they had a weapon or not. I didn't know if if they were gonna kill me or if anybody had a gun. Stuff like back then where I'm from, stuff like that scares me. Getting randomly shot by somebody, that stuff happens where I'm from. So they're like, give us your money, give us your phone. I'm like, all right. And then of course they thought they were tough, so they had to beat me up. And I got down on my knees and I was, hunkered up like this, and they were kicking me in the side and in the back of the leg, and I'm like, ah, but truth be told, when they ran away, I got up and walked back to my car. I was pretty much fine.
So did you not text that, or I guess you couldn't text because your phone was gone, but did you not hit that woman back up and say, like, why did you just
No,
almost get me killed?
no, I'm like, I chalk it up to an experience. Fuck that lady. I'm not dealing with that bullshit.
Well, I think it's funny. My story and Alex's story were like what could have gone wrong, and all of your stories are like what did go wrong.
Almost worst case scenario. Like I said, I've got some good experiences in dating. I've just got so many more years that I've got more stories because I've got you guys beat by 20 something years, so I do have a lot more stories. You guys are gonna go through stuff like this dating.
You're like 15 years older than me.
16, something like that. But that's a lifetime back in my generation.
There's a dichotomy between of our stories. Really, Will's story, my story, and then your ferret story are all like what goes wrong when you meet a girl online in the middle of nowhere. And then the other two stories, the chaser and the beating up, are what goes wrong when you meet a girl online in the city.
Okay, I have a city story that I can't tell yet because it's not safe for work. But if you guys, the viewers, want to hear a not safe for work story, make some noise in the comments, and then maybe I'll tell it. But it's pretty good, but it's not yet, not yet. I'll save that one.
Going back, looking back at the ferret girl, she wasn't that bad of a person. She was a good person. She just, I guess, was just not smart in the head when it came to common sense about animals.
Bro, people with ferrets would like eat corpses.
Yeah.
My parents
It
owned a
was
ferret
the
at
she
one
had
point.
she had she had 2 raccoons. She had like 7 ferrets and 2 raccoons.
And you know
Like
she
who
got those
that's a pet
raccoons.
raccoon?
You know she got those raccoons out of the trash behind her house. She did not get those from a
Yeah,
pet store.
they were probably abandoned babies.
I think it's
one
illegal
thing.
to sell raccoons or to own raccoons.
So I noticed that when you were talking about finding the ferrets, you said you only found 6. I think the other one's still inside of you to this day.
The fact that she let him run free like that, and the whole, like I said, you open the door to the house, you can smell it.
How
I mean,
attractive was she?
She wasn't bad. She was kind of gothy. I love goth girls, and she was a bit gothy, but I think overall, looking at the whole situation, I don't think she was very smart at all. Which is not a big deal, but if you're gonna be dumb as shit, at least have a little bit of common sense. You can't be dumb as shit and have no common sense. It doesn't make any sense. And I thought she probably thought it was okay because we had conversations where we both were talking about animals, like we love animals. But when I say I love animals, I mean like elephants, dogs, and koalas and stuff. But I don't mean like fucking ferrets and trash pandas. I'm surprised she didn't have a goddamn possum.
They probably did.
She probably moved up to that after the ferrets. The ferrets are probably like her starter varmint or something.
Varmint.